Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When I say I'm so happy you here, it's because I really am. Of course, this is Muslims and the Dunya. My name is Mo Quick. This podcast is all about the striving person. You ever feel like, I'm going to wake up today and I'm going to be the best Muslim I can be. But then when you walk out that door and somebody call you, now you find yourself somewhere you're not supposed to be doing something you're not supposed to be doing, and you just like, man, I really want to do better. But if you didn't know, I'm here to tell you, the best Muslim is not the perfect Muslim. The best Muslim is the striving Muslim. So as long as you put it in your heart that you want to be better, that's really all we can do. And that's what he wants from you. So this podcast is all about that. I got a super dope guest today. DJ Kash is here.
Thanks for having me.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
I'm so happy you're here.
I love that you're doing this, first of all. I think this is super duper amazing. You know what I mean? So
you know what? It's crazy because when I started putting my hijab back on, and you text me, and you were like, whoa, I didn't know you were Muslim. Yeah. And I was like, I didn't know you were Muslim. And it's like that instant connection. It's something about that because Kash is a world-renowned DJ, super huge in the industry. He's been from different radio stations all over, hip-hop, reggae, like the scene. So for us to be in such a culture, in such a faith as Islam, and still be able to, move and groove through a culture that's not really,
where everything is haram.
That's the best way to put it.
Everything is haram.
Wow, that's
let's
like
not
the best
even
way
beat
to
around
put
the
it.
bush. Everything is haram.
When you meet somebody, you're like, oh my God, I'm so happy that you're here too. Because I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
But we're here together. Sure. And it's like you have that energy where it's like, thank you for knowing me and knowing that I may be doing something, but that's not who I am.
Yeah. And when I seen you put your hijab back on, I thought that was like one of the most beautiful things in the world. I think that is like, you do that, you when you do things like that too, like the people around you make stronger because it's like, wow, okay.
If she could do it, I could do it.
Yeah, if she's in that industry and she'll stand up and she'll take whatever fade she got to take, you know what I mean? Because I know that comes with a lot of pushback, and especially in today's world, especially against Muslims, especially being black. You know what I mean? It has its challenges. You know what I mean? So I super commend you for that because what you did takes a lot of strength.
You know, it's crazy because that's how I wanted to start the show. I really wanted to start with just being vulnerable, sharing this space with you. Speaking of the strength and the pushback, it's like when I made that transition during Ramadan last year, I was doing my job at night. So on the radio, you play these songs, you have to endorse these products, all of them which go against everything you believe in. But now that I have decided to actually walk in my faith. It's one thing to be a person of a faith, but to practice that faith out loud in your everyday life is completely different. So me having to go back to a space where I'm saying, all right, make sure you keep listening because City Girls WAP is coming up. And it's like, should I be saying this? And should I be encouraging them to listen to this? But you want to do that or you don't want to have a job at all? You want to be Muslim, but you still want to be able to live the life that you're already sort of living. Because when you make a transition into your faith, understanding, we're not going to say everything is haram, but for the most part, the things that are fun, cool, make a lot of money quickly, they haram. Right. So I'm like, it's going to be tough. A lot of people saying, well, how do you feel being a Muslim, but you still on the radio with all the bad music? Well, how do you feel, preaching good things, but yeah, you telling people to keep listening because such and such is coming up on the way, or your birthday bash is being sponsored by Hennessy or something like that. It's just such a conflict of heart.
But at the same time, it's like, Allah has put you in a place where you can also inspire. You can't inspire from the ivory tower. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to get down and touch the people. Because when I see that, I think that's beautiful. And I always use you as an example. Like when people ask me about being Muslim, being in the industry, I show them you. I say, no, I swear to God. No, but I do. I always show them I always say, okay, she used to not wear her hijab. And I didn't even know she was Muslim until she started wearing it and walking in her faith and really proclaiming it. And, it takes a lot. It takes a lot, especially in our industry. It takes a lot to not be ridiculed, to not be ostracized, to not be left out, to not be, or
considered lame because now you don't want to go out no more.
Right.
Oh, Mo ain't gonna come. I know she don't go to the club no more.
Right.
And you're like, I'm sorry, is that a bad thing?
Right.
Excuse me?
Right.
So now I'm lame because I don't want to go to the club.
Yeah.
But I do want to go to the club. And that's the other thing. I do still want to live that life. I want to praise the law, but I still do want to go out, go to Turks and Caicos for Jabbar Cash weekend, stay out all night drinking with friends. Like, that's the life that I was in that makes you sort of feel like you're alive when you're able to not have restrictions. When you restrict yourself, it makes you think about life more than live life.
Right.
But if you're not restricting yourself and you're allowing yourself to do whatever, whenever, you are going specifically against what God wants, because God's going to give you the world, but he wants you to have enough love for him to restrain yourself without him making you restrain yourself.
I've always tried to have that balance of, my faith and this industry, which is why, I'm infamously known for not drinking or smoking in the industry. Everybody knows, don't give it to Kash. He ain't gonna drink. You know what I mean? This is probably why, too, if I'm not working, I'm not out. This is why you never probably bumped into me at a industry party or...
Unless it was our boss's party that one time.
Right, you know what I'm saying?
But we had to be there.
You're right, you know what I mean? But that's about it. So it has its challenges, It has its challenges. But
yeah, I feel it.
It's hard. You
know what was crazy? Remember when we, my ex-husband, your wife, were sitting at Ferrari's table during his reception, and we're talking, we're laughing, blah. We talked about everything under the sun. We not once mentioned religion. I'm sitting there with you the whole time, and I had the banging red dress on. My hair was long. I was outside. Not once did we talk about God, faith, and if we had crossed that line, we would have found the common respect and understood that we're both Muslim. But when you're out, you don't even mention God. Yeah. When you're in a certain environment, you don't even mention his name.
Yeah. But I think that's a very Western thing, though, too, because it's such a touchy subject. You kind of don't want to insult or be rude to anybody. And that's where we've gone. That bringing up God is rude now.
Interesting. You know what I mean? I never thought about that.
Especially being a Muslim. It's very you're Muslim? Because most people don't understand the religion and they automatically assume the worst, or they believe every horrible thing they've ever heard about it.
Because the media has done that. Right. The media is like Taliban, bombings, super strict faith. They don't respect women. You gotta do this. You can't do that. Yeah. And it's like, DJ Kash is Muslim. Have y'all heard about, was it Bomba Tuesdays?
Yeah.
Right, what?
You know what's crazy? Which is another reason why, that's funny you bring that up, right? So, all right, so my whole life, I grew up with a masjid on my block.
In New York.
Brooklyn. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I grew up with a masjid on my block.
You heard the adhan being called?
Every day. You know what I mean? Every day. Every day. And I was raised Christian. But being black, being, from a impoverished neighborhood, you have your challenges. And our neighborhood kind of used to be white. So a lot of the churches were still kind of leaning white. So they would treat us kind of foul. And I never understood that. This is supposed to be a house of God. And the masjid on the block was a very modest mosque. It was very modest. Very, very
Explain the word modest. People they equate that with either being poor or homely.
When people now, and a lot of people that don't know the faith, and they think of a mosque, they think of that mosque in
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
Saudi Arabia, white or black,
right? Or in Abu Dhabi, they think it's
some grand,
full of marble and full of gold leaf. No,
it was somebody's house.
Yeah, it was literally two apartments that they knocked down the walls, and it was working class. It was really working poor, people that were living check to check, paycheck to paycheck. And we used to play football at the end of the block. And everybody used to hate that we played football there, except for the men in the mosque. They were just, every day they would offer us food. They would offer us water. They would offer us, during Ramadan, they would offer us, dates. Dates for us to have iftar with them. At the time, we didn't know what it was, but we just they would offer us food. And even though the way we were dressed might have been haram, we might have had chains on, they would invite us in, they would love share Islam with us. You know what I mean? So that's when I knew nah, this is for me. You know, I knew
that brother faith.
Yeah, it was just an overwhelming amount of love that was just poured into me every day. Are you hungry? If you're hungry, we'll feed you. If you're thirsty, we'll give you something to drink. Nobody judged me. Nobody said, don't wear that. Nobody did any of that. They kind of let me find Allah on my own. You know what I mean? They would gift me even there was a Muslim bookstore close by. And I remember going in there one day because I was just curious. And the guy he was very eager to explain Islam to me. And he gave me some books you should read this, you should read that. Of course, he gave me a Quran. And I was like, you know what? I left my wallet at home. I'm gonna be back. He was like, brother, take it.
How old were you?
I might have been 11, 12.
Wow.
And he was like, take it. If you come back, you come back. If you don't, that's between you and Allah. Wow. And I was just that right there meant everything to me because I come from a neighborhood where I was a troubled kid. Nobody trusted me. I was looked at as a criminal. I was
a black man.
Yeah.
Or even as a boy, you're a black man.
Yeah. And then the mosque on my block too was predominantly Pakistanis. So I seen a man who wasn't Black American giving me this type of love and treatment it just.
Wow.
Because
you know, and that's another thing. When you were texting me, you told me that you've been Muslim for 5 years. I'm like, 5 years? What happened in your life 5 years ago that helped you make that transition?
This is why I said when you bring up Bamba Tuesdays, this is why I said. So I was speaking with a friend. So you have a lot.
And drink your tea.
Oh yeah, thank you. That's actually really good.
Okay, because we didn't put that honey in there for nothing.
You feel me? I grew up naturally with friends, especially growing up in New York. There's a high Black Muslim population, especially Harlem. If you grew up in Harlem,
in Philly too. I'm going to eat this year to get me a husband.
You see what I'm saying?
But go ahead.
But so one time my friend came to visit, and it was Ramadan, so it was about to be Ramadan was coming up, and he was like. We were talking, and then I mentioned to him, I haven't taken my Shahada. And he was like, what? And he was so shocked. He was like, bro, all these years of growing up, praying together. And
you were praying before you were Muslim?
I was everything. And he was like, bro, you never took your Shahada? I was like, he was like, Kash, man, you know better, bro. He was like, I'm kind of disappointed in you, bro. He was like, you know better. You know what I'm saying? He was like, it's one thing for people that don't know, you know? He was like, you know better.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
And it makes me mad emotional, you know what I mean? He was like, bro, you know better. And then I was like, bro, and it really hit me. I was like, he's right. You know what I mean?
Why hadn't you? What was giving you that hesitation?
To be honest, I don't know. I don't have an answer. I honestly don't. I just never did. I just never did. I would pray. I would fast. I would do everything. I would do my charitable works. You know, I would do everything. And then, so 2017,
you would go to the Juma too?
Yeah, everything.
What?
So I said, nah, I'm gonna do it. I went to the mosque on 14th Street, and
you took it at Al Farouk?
Yeah. So by chance, I took my Shahada during the holiest month of the year, on the holiest day.
You're kidding.
Yeah, by chance, I didn't even realize it. And then once I did that, again, while I'm happy you brought up Bamba, I had this whole spiritual awakening. It was very, very, very emotional for me. And I realized there's certain things I'm gonna have to change. And it started with the music. So I kind of stopped listening to hip hop. And it's weird because once I took my Shahada and I was really starting to be even more on my Deen, it just naturally progressed.
Wow.
Nobody told me, the frequency for me was just way too low. I couldn't, it just wasn't working for me no more. So then I started getting into something called Amapiano, which is South African house music. It's mainly music, not really much words. It's off his words. It's more like chanting and stuff like that. So I started leaning more towards that. And it made me, it kind of brought my frequency up a little bit more.
It's like you're being more conscious.
Exactly. So then, and then I was so much on my Deen, I was gonna move to a Muslim country. So I had a contract with Hot 107.9 with, and then I already informed them I wasn't gonna renew that contract.
You lying.
Yeah, I was supposed to move to Qatar.
So how you end up at V103?
Because the pandemic hit. Then I couldn't move to Qatar. I already signed a deal to have a residency in Qatar.
Wow, are you serious?
Yeah, I signed a deal and everything. I was going to move to Qatar. I've been to Qatar plenty of times.
So you know you loved it.
Yeah, so I knew I've been to Qatar. But by that time, I've been to Qatar maybe like 6 times.
Okay, so you international. We got it.
Yeah.
So you be going places. Okay.
Yeah, so I was already cool with it. So then pandemic hit. I couldn't go. Now I'm still hit with this dilemma like, I don't want to do this music no more. So that's the creation of Bamba Tuesdays.
Wow.
And then the funny thing is, I've done events, but I never curated a weekly event before, and which is, if anybody who's in this industry knows, that is a lot of work. And it's something completely opposite from what I was doing, and it completely worked, like
it's
instantly.
Extremely popular. Yeah. I was just telling Reese the other day, I was like, sir, the thing about, the energies in the universe and having good and bad, you have to tap into them, even if you're not conscious of it. Because nothing in this life can move without an energy source. I was unconsciously tapped into a good energy because my heart has always been pure, pure intentioned. But when I consciously tapped in with the good energy and made it my intention to do the right thing, even though I thought I was gonna lose endorsements, lose a job, people don't wanna hang out with me because now I'm covered, I started making way more money. My brand grew even more. People wanna be around me even more. And I'm like, no,
that's exactly what happened to me. That's exactly. Even though I was, by most standards as a DJ, I was considered successful, it elevated even more.
That's crazy.
Like getting paid like a rapper, like elevated ever since I made that shift.
That is so
I was making great money then,
but
it was just like, once I made the shift, it was like 5 times that.
That is so crazy. So I guess, in a city like ours, in an industry like ours, do you feel like it's hard to focus on God?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And how do you? How do you go out there every day, do what we do, and then still somehow make your prayers or keep yourself on the right track, on the right path?
The way I attack it is the way an addict attacks the 12-step program.
I've never been there, but please explain.
I've never been an addict, you know what I mean? But I'm familiar with the 12-step program, you know what I mean? So, like, I look at it like, because some people say, okay, just this one thing, or if I do this, then it's not that bad, or if I don't do it often.
Then you get addicted.
Yeah, so I look at it like, I treat it as if I'm an addict. You know what I'm saying? That I can slip at any time. So I have to be as cautious as possible. I try. I'm not the most perfect Muslim, but I try. You know what I mean? I try. So that's why even now, like, I'm trying to move back. I'm trying to move to a Muslim country because because I'm not tempted as much as I am here.
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah.
Especially not in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Being a DJ on the radio, friend.
And then it's like, I learn more. I learn my Quran more. I learn about Islam more.
Because it's around you.
Right.
You're not the only Muslim in the whole entire room.
Right. So I learn more. And you become inspired. You go like, and if you're a Muslim and you go to a Muslim country for Ramadan, oh my God.
It's a whole feeling.
Life is game changing. It'll change
your
life. You would be like, I don't want to ever move back to the States.
For me, it was even going to a Muslim country and seeing people praying on the street, praying on the sidewalk, praying in the park. It's like when you hear that adhan, I don't care what you're doing. You're going to go find some water. You're going to lay down whatever you can. You're going to find the cleanest space and you're praying. Like here, sometimes you even get self-conscious praying at your job. You definitely ain't gonna pray in no mall. And you go to a Muslim country, they're praying in the mall.
Yeah, there's prayer rooms in the mall.
There are prayer rooms in the airport.
Yeah, there's prayer rooms in the airport. There's prayer rooms in the mall. There's prayer rooms everywhere you go. And that's why, to my children, I want my children to grow up around that. I want my children to grow up around those Muslim values and morals, because to me it's unmatched. Like it's unbelievable. Like when you go to these Muslim countries, I could set my Rolex, my watch, my phone on a counter. I can go to the bathroom and it won't be touched by a single person. I can leave it there for days. In fact, they'll put it away from me and come back. And when I come back,
put your Rolex
up. When I come back days later, they'll be like, "Hey, bro, you forgot this." You know what I mean? So
it is so different.
It's really challenging being here. Like that's why I want to move to, like, my goal is to move to a Muslim country within the next 5-6 years.
How does your wife, who's not Muslim, feel about that?
I mean, she's kind of like me when I was a child. She fully embraces the religion, you know what I mean? So she prays, she observes Ramadan.
You're kidding me.
Yeah. She may not make every prayer, you know what I mean?
Hell, if you're Muslim, you may not.
Right, you know?
But astaghfirullah, please make your prayer.
Yeah. But she'll pray, she'll observe Ramadan with me, she'll respect my wishes about, like, and respect that I'm fasting and won't cook before iftar. Yeah, so even for the kids, like, she'll make sure she'll give them something cold, like sandwiches, so she doesn't have to cook, so I don't gotta smell it, or she'll, you know, so.
Wow,
yeah,
that's respect.
But she'll take her shahada soon enough.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
We all gonna pray for her at the end of this podcast, okay?
Inshallah. But I purposely took her with me to the Muslim country so she can, and she fell in love with Islam.
You have to. How can you not? It's like a feeling over you. Yeah. You're just like, wow, like, I didn't know life could be like this a little bit. It's just really different. Like, for real, it's really, really different. So before but it's sort of crazy because you sort of already were Muslim, but as a man, it's not as crazy because you don't have to show that I'm Muslim.
Right.
But did you have a fear right before you reverted, being in your industry, and what if, I don't know, it's probably not the same for a man.
Nah, I had no fear. I don't go through the challenges like you said, like that you might have.
Yeah.
You know, because you can't look at me and tell that I'm Muslim, you know? So I didn't really have those challenges whatsoever. And I didn't fear those challenges whatsoever. Yeah. But I've always been the guy that's doing something different. So that's just my thing anyway. So I was always used to being the only Muslim in the room. I was always, even when I worked at Hot, like, I would bring during Ramadan, especially during Ramadan, like, I try to be on my Deen as much as possible, but during Ramadan, I'm not missing a prayer. So no matter where I am, I'm doing it. So I would...
You were praying in the radio station?
Yeah, I would pray in the mailroom. I would pray in the mailroom.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
I pray in the production room.
Yeah. I would pray in the mailroom.
Wow. Oh, that's beautiful. Anybody catch you praying? Nah. Anybody ever asked, hey, what are you doing?
Everybody always kind of, like, knew I was in there, like, during those times. So they kind of well, when I was on 6 to 10. So most of the people were gone. Yeah, most of the people were gone. Everybody was,
so the circle of people that you have around you, how do they respect your religion? Or do they?
They completely respect it. Like, whatever my wishes are. Like, if I say I gotta pray and I need everybody to be quiet, most of the time, my friends completely respect it. It's so real. If I tell my friends I want them to observe Ramadan with me, they will.
What kind of friends
they will pray with me. Yeah, you know, I've had some of my friends that have gone through difficult times. I tell them observe Ramadan with me, and that first prayer, I will FaceTime them and pray with them. I would teach them how to pray. I would tell them. I would explain to them how to do wudu. I would everything.
Wow.
Like, I would get them a mat. If I got to Amazon them a mat, everything. I would tell them how to dress. And they would pray with me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that is so beautiful.
So I've been very fortunate. I've been...
Okay, because it don't really happen like that.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. I grew up around a great set of people, so yeah.
So in your life, that moment where, you know, you want to believe, you really do, but this thing right here is so difficult, is it real? The time you've been tested with your faith, is that moment in your mind? Can you think of that one time?
Yeah, I think it's every day.
Every day?
Listen, the industry that I'm in and the success I've had, I think the biggest struggle for any guy in my position is women.
Oh, Lord.
So that's an everyday struggle. You know what I mean? Right. Just being very vulnerable and honest.
Yeah.
That's an everyday struggle.
Because they're at your neck, they're at your toes. Because you're like...
pressure will...
That spotlight is shining on you.
And you're a man. So, you know, you're a man. And then ego comes into play. Like,
ego is a beast.
Yeah. So
ego's worse than the devil.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, I'm serious.
It's a tool of the devil, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's a challenge. So that's literally every day. I gotta open that app and scroll through them DMs and go past them. You know what I'm saying? It's very difficult. It really, really is. That's probably the biggest test I have on a daily basis.
Wow, so it ain't even the alcohol. It ain't the weed.
Nah,
it ain't. It ain't the music.
I could live in a world without alcohol, without weed, I could live because I've grown up not really doing it. So I don't.
Hilarious, but the women they be making you weak.
That's all you. But I talked to my wife about it.
You should. I feel, even when we were at dinner, without even talking about Islam, I felt you all's connection. You know, I felt that you have been together for a long time. You've seen each other change. You've seen each other with money, without money, you know. So when someone's on the bottom with you and you're able to share your actual self, anything else should be just communication.
Yeah, that's one thing I definitely love about our dynamic. And we've even discussed me having a second wife.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
I was going there.
Yeah, we've discussed it, yeah.
And?
We've discussed it. And, I mean, she's open to it, so.
Why?
I think she was more so open to it, like, once she went to a Muslim country and seen it's not about, like, orgies. I think that's what most people think. It's like, so I gotta sleep with her? Like, that's what I think.
No,
that's what they think. So I have friends that have, you know, more than one wife. And I think maybe seeing the dynamic is like, oh.
A loving family.
This is actually really dope, you know? And
what are the benefits that you see to having multiple wives?
From what I've seen, it builds an empire, like it builds legacy. From a vain standpoint, I guess. Or like, me as a provider and a protector, I'm always thinking about my children and what they'll have when I'm gone. You know what I mean? So from the people I've seen and the dynamics I've seen, they've built something that will last, that only expands and that will help their children. So I've seen them be a crutch to him like no other. Like every business he has, this wife's running, that wife's running, that one, and the kids are there. And it's like they focus. It's like having your family, having a supportive family times 3.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Like
so you
a well-oiled machine.
Right. You can get more done if you have more employees, so to speak. But
now don't call your family employees.
I'm not saying employees, but I mean help.
I'm just kidding.
You know what I mean? Like help. You can expand if you have more help. So for me, I think that's the biggest benefit I look at as a protector and provider and wanting something bigger for my children to have. That's what I see like this, the biggest benefit.
Do you think you have enough fortitude to take on multiple families, emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually?
I do. I think for me, thankfully, the financial part is the easiest part. My challenge would be probably the emotion, being fulfilling emotionally and being able to be vulnerable and be there, be present emotionally for both houses. You know, that's the challenge.
Because, you know, women, we need that emotion.
Yeah.
We take a lot of attention.
Right. But I find, in my friend's case, like, his wives get along really well. So it's like, he doesn't have to be like, all right, I'm going to be here. It's like, they're together all the time. You know
Whoa, what? He can't have them living together, though.
No, they don't live together.
Okay.
He lives on a compound, you know what I'm saying?
Here?
So, no, in Qatar.
Oh, okay.
So he lives like on a compound. So like, his houses are literally walking distance. It's like he has it fenced off. He lives like on a compound.
Wow.
So that's why I got the idea for him from him. Like I want to build my own subdivision, and I bought 3.5 acres of land to build my own subdivision. Yeah, because that's kind of like what he got almost. You know what I'm saying? He has 2 houses and a guest house. And a maid's quarters.
Oh, he has help. They have help.
Yeah, tons of help.
So that's the beautiful thing about it, because while I always picture, you know, the next man in my life, he's going to have to be a visionary. He's going to have to see where we're heading before we get started walking. You know, a lot of times, men, they just wake up, go to their job, they come home, you know, then they go back to their job. You know, they don't necessarily have a plan. They're just trying to pay the bills and keep the lights on.
Okay, let me interrupt you then right quick.
I ain't even finished, but go ahead.
But that's why I said let me interrupt you. So like, there's a pro and a con to that, right?
Okay.
Because I often hear women say they want a leader.
Don't you say we don't follow, because now we're going to have to go on another podcast.
What I'm trying to tell you, what I'm saying is, if you want a leader, you have to be willing to follow. I'm not saying you can't follow. I'm saying you have to be willing, because a leader is usually very, like, definite in his plans. Like me, I'm like sure. Like, to me, there's no plan B. This is gonna work. Like I've walked through my whole life like that. I feel like I attribute my success to having that type of leadership mentality. And it's like, this is what I'm doing, and it's gonna work, and it's worked for me my whole life, and I've been successful.
The only reason men get pushback from women when they are told to do this or do that is because most times we don't trust that he know what he doing. You know?
This is true.
And that's because we don't see visionary. We don't see you have a plan. We just see you winging it. And I cannot follow a winger.
All right, so I hear that a lot from women, right? So what if you do find a man that he proves to you that he's a leader?
I'm going to marry him, and I'm going to follow his ass.
But what if his plan is to have two wives? What if his plan is to have two wives? You're not going to be a great leader then, huh? You're not going to be a great follower then. You're not going to be a great follower then, right? But the plan
you haven't asked me if I'm okay with that.
Oh, so, okay, what if his plan is, he is a leader, and he does wake up with a plan, and what if part of his plan is expanding the family crest, the family tree, and his plan is to have another wife?
I am okay with being a sister wife. Actually, my father, I was born Muslim. My father had multiple wives the entire time I've known him, except for right now, because he's struggling and he needs to get his life. Sorry, Dad, if you're watching this. I love you so much. I love you. I love you. I love you. But, I've seen it work. I've seen how, as long as the man is emotionally intelligent, as long as he's able to fix issues as they arrive, doesn't have poor communication skills, knows social boundaries, it can work, So I know the benefits of it. So me personally, especially after being married once, I think I said this a little while ago too, but I don't want to be available 24/7. I want you to be able to take a step away. I want to be able to, put that stinking conditioner in my hair that really grows it, but that I can't because now I'm looking crazy and you looking at me look crazy. No, I need a couple of days so I can, do me.
That's a very good point.
And I am okay with that. So as long as he is a visionary and he has a reason for wanting multiple wives, that has nothing to do with, man, this girl fine, and I'm just trying to get to know her.
But, sometimes...
That's okay?
No.
Where we going?
No, I'm not saying... I mean, yes and no. Because sometimes that will hinder a man from straying. Sometimes.
What do you mean?
Sometimes if if he's able to have two wives, he won't feel compelled to go outside if you're too
because if it's new, it's exciting. Whether it's multiple wives, whatever, because both of his wives are going to get old to him at some point. Then he's going to want 3. Then all 3 of them going to get old. Then he's going to want 4. And you can't go past 4 because that's haram. But at the same time, I don't think that got to do anything. That's a whole nother story.
I think though too, in that dynamic, I think most people look at the money part. I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm just ambitious, but I feel like the money part is the easiest part because you could always make money. You could always figure out the money part. You know what I'm saying?
It is, especially with more heads.
Right. The hard part is the emotional part. The emotional intelligence. You have to really do the work before you could even think about a dynamic like that.
It is.
You know what I mean?
It is.
Because that anybody who has a healthy relationship knows the work it is, the emotional availability you have to have for your wife or your significant other. Like, it's a lot.
That's why I need them 2
very
days.
Taxing.
Frank, go to her house. I can't do it today.
It is very taxing. It is very, very taxing.
That's crazy. Do you remember the story about... I don't know, maybe if you were told or not, but when Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, his wife Khadija radiallahu anhu, when she passed, right? And then he began to have multiple wives because with her, he only had her, period. But after she passed and he married Aisha radiallahu anhu and his other wives, and like the love that he had for her was still so much there that even the wives would get jealous with her and she wasn't even in the room. Like she's literally deceased.
Right.
So when it comes to even that jealousy factor, do you think you'd be able, because you can't like love one more than the other, but if one smells it.
I mean, in theory, But let's be honest, like you can try your best, but
you're gonna do it.
I think that's.
But how do you
natural.
subside jealousy?
To be honest with you, I don't have the answers. I don't. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be real with you. I don't know. I think that's where maybe that emotional intelligence kicks in. I think communication rules the nation. Like you're gonna have to constantly communicate, and a man, especially with his wife, is gonna have to learn to be vulnerable. You know, and he's gonna have to explain. And part of being a visionary is explaining the steps and not just doing it and being like, "Just follow me." You know, you're gonna like, look.
Ooh, that's being a good leader,
right? You know, so that helps create an environment where she might not have to be jealous. If you could say, "Listen, this is what I'm gonna do. This is what I'm thinking," and blah 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 blah. You know, here's step 1, step 2, step 3, step whatever, and give a timeline for it. That creates a lot of. And I mean that broken down to the simplest thing. If like, for example, a schedule for the weekend. If I communicate that to her and say, "Listen, babe, this weekend, this is what I'm gonna do, all right? I'm gonna
I don't know any man that organized and communicative. Like, first of all, y'all don't got no organization and y'all don't never tell us what you thinking or what you're doing. That's like an extremely, extremely emotionally intelligent man. Do you think you're there yet?
I think I'm kind of there. I think because I have these conversations. Now, I might not do it on a daily basis, but
that's a lot of work.
Right. Yeah, you know what I mean? But if I had 2 wives, I would, because I know I would try to be proactive instead of reactive. You know what I'm saying? I would try to, you know what I mean? I would try to be proactive instead of waiting for one of them to get jealous of them, then try to fix it. I would try to.
That's more energy to exert.
Right. But I mean, in my real life, I would say, look, this is what I'm thinking. If I do that with our finances, I say, okay, this next couple of months, this is what I'm doing with the money. I mean, even though she doesn't work, I make the money, I still let her, okay, look, this is what I'm gonna do with the finances. And this is, the reason why I'm doing this is because of this.
Wow.
So she sees the plan. So, or if I say, okay, this is, like, I mean, even how we got together, we was together in college. I came here for vacation and never left. And I told her, I said, hey, if you come here, I'll marry you, and this is my plan.
You're kidding. That's how it happened?
I said, you come here, I'll get us an apartment. From the apartment, I'll get us a house. You know what I mean? But before we get the house and everything, I will marry you. And I laid it all out.
Wow.
And she came, and I did everything that I said I would do.
Oh, that's super dope.
So I would like to think, maybe if she was here, she might argue like, well, he don't tell me about this. You know what I'm saying? But I would like to think I'm that emotionally intelligent. You know what I mean?
That's really dope. You know, I didn't know it happened like that. Yeah. That's a very commendable, very admirable to be able to, like, you know, I hate beating y'all up, but sometimes y'all deserve it.
Oh my God.
But men don't stick to their word. You know, they say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then you be like, but you said you was going.
Yeah,
I said, I'm going to do it. But you ain't doing it, though.
Yeah.
So for you to, like, legit do it, that's like, did your dad teach you this? Where did you see it?
I didn't really grow up with my father.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't really grow up. I met my father when I was like 12.
You're kidding?
Like yeah. I mean, even to this day, I don't have a good relationship with him.
So who taught you to be a stand-up guy?
I like I said, I think like you learn more being with the people. You know what I mean? The sinners, as they say. You know, like I grew up around guys who were what they would call like a gangster and a gentleman. Like they were doing completely haram things. You know what I mean? But they always taught me better. They were always the guys like, don't do what we're doing. And if they caught me doing what they were doing, they would discipline me accordingly. Hilarious. And I didn't have, so I essentially grew up like raised by the village. Because I didn't have most people had to watch out for their one father. I had to watch out for every guy, every male figure in our neighborhood. Because if he see me doing something wrong, from my mother, he had permission to grab me and discipline me.
What?
You know what I mean? So yeah, so I had a lot of that. And all of them were super respectful to women. Like, super respectful to women.
Were they Muslim men or just men in the community?
Some of them were. Some of them were. And some of them were, yeah.
Wow.
So
I don't see that anymore.
Yeah, they were all like if I was out, they would question me like, why are you out? Well, what are you doing? Where you going?
Wow.
Like, well, who? For what? I'm dead serious. I was like a broken record. Every 5 blocks, I had to explain myself. Yo, what you doing? Where you going? Who you with? Like, you know what I mean?
That is so dope.
Yeah, I would learn that. I would say I learned that from them, and then I had 3 sisters growing up. So The
They
combination.
mothered
Yeah, the combination.
Were they older sisters?
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 5.
Wow. And you're the youngest?
Yeah.
Wow, that is so dope, Kash. I never knew all of this.
Yeah.
You see, you got to have a podcast to get to know someone.
You know what I'm saying?
That is so super duper dope. So when it comes to you moving, do you see you leaving your lifestyle before you move, or is your move going to force you to leave your lifestyle?
The ideal situation would be yes, to leave the lifestyle.
Before the move?
Yeah, a little bit before. I mean, I've done good with like entrepreneurship and like setting up other streams of income. It's just that DJing has been like my main source of income since I was like 18.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's literally like supported me, my family since I was 18.
And you love it.
Yeah, and I love it. So I've been blessed. I've been very, very fortunate. I've never really worked a real job. Like, so they say a real job, even though I feel like this is a real job.
They don't understand that part.
I mean, I had one job.
We got checks and balances.
You feel me?
It's fun, but
when I leave here, I'm doing payroll. I got people to pay. You know what I'm saying? You know, I got your 1099s, by the way, to keep harassing me. Like, I need my 1099.
It's tax season.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So
Wow.
I think that, because for me, the goal is to just really enjoy my family and enjoy life with the streams of income, the passive income that I've set up. So when I go there, I'm not working as much as I am now, and I get to like be a pillar in my community, like, and really do my charitable works. And because I always been the type that I don't want to force my kids to be Muslim. I want them to see their dad be a good Muslim and say, I want to be like my father. My father's a great person. He helps out the community. You know, he's a good person. So I want them to look at me and be like example of, you know.
Yeah, the example is much better than saying, you got to do this.
Right. So I want my son to come to me and be like, Dad, I want to take my shot. I want him to come to me and tell, you know.
Aww.
I want my daughter to come to me and say, you know, I want it to be like that.
That is so beautiful.
So, yeah, I want to spend a lot of time down, like, you know, I don't want to be just working. I want to move in and be in the same hustle bustle that I am here, you know.
But I mean, honestly, it is different in other cultures. They don't have as much hustle and bustle as we do. Like, we be on it all. They be like, damn, why y'all working so hard?
I challenge you to go to the Middle East and try to get anything done quickly. It's not happening.
I be like, do you got anywhere to go?
It's not happening.
Be like, so, how's your day?
Yeah.
You be like, can you check me out?
Even if you go eat at a restaurant, nobody's rushing you out of that seat. You got to be like, can I get the check? Somebody? Anybody? You know what I mean?
For real.
Yeah, nothing is done with urgency.
That is hilarious. I think that's how it's supposed to be, because when you get so caught up in what we're caught up in, getting the money, getting the next status, reaching a new level, that's when you get distracted. That's when you forget about your prayers. That's when you forget to say, thank you, God, for giving me this. And because you have to do so much when you do reach a level, you giving yourself praise. Man, I had to work hard to get this. You want to say thank you, God, or did you do all?
Right.
That's a huge difference.
Right. And I want my kids to see that too. I want my kids, like I said earlier, I want them to grow up around Muslim morals, Muslim, just everything. Like, I don't want them to feel alienated. Like, even now, like, we're going through picking schools for them. Like, they're going to Islamic school. Hands down.
Darn.
We didn't pick yet. We haven't picked yet. But
how just happened?
Even if I gotta travel an hour or whatever it is, like, they're going.
No, there's so many here, right in the vicinity.
Well, I live in Gwinnett. I live in Duluth.
Oh Lord.
So yeah, yeah. So like, they're going to a Muslim school. Like, it's not even like a debate or option. Like,
even though some people do say, and this is why I had to divorce my ex-husband. He was always pushing the idea that if I send them to a Muslim school, if we send them to a private school, they won't be able to battle the real world because they've been in a cocoon their whole life. And they'll think that this is how the world is. What do you think?
Nah, I completely disagree. Completely disagree.
Why completely? Because it's sort of like you're sheltering them a little bit. Because when you go to a Muslim school, there's going to have a level of peace, a level of patience, you know. But then when they go to their job and everyone's
people say that to me too. Like, why would you send your kids there? Because then they this and that and the third. But it's like, do I not teach my kids to be kind because the world's not kind?
Okay, friends, so you speak.
You know what I mean? Like, the goal is to have them have a certain moral fiber. So do I compromise that just because the world around them doesn't have that level of moral fiber? You know what I mean?
No, okay, that's. I should have called you at that moment that he tried me. Right. Well, Kash said, that's a great way to combat that.
And then I only get that when I bring up Islam. Because nobody says that when Jewish people come, they move to a Jewish community.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Ooh. Nobody questions it. Nobody says, well, why are you going to send them? Why are you going to move to that Jewish community? Why are you going to
shelter them in Jewish land?
Nobody does that. Or if an Indian man moves here, he moves to an Indian community. Nobody says, why would you do that? Nobody does that.
That's very interesting.
Yeah,
so speaking at that point right there, if someone knows nothing about Islam, what would you say about it?
I guess I would just describe it how I felt. Like, for me, Islam, it just made me very emotional. If you really look into it, if you dig into it, and the thing is, you don't have to dig very far. You know what I mean? So I would just describe it. That was the question, right? How would I describe it?
How would you describe
I would just describe it as just like, man, I can't even describe it. It's love. It's like you literally feel the love. It's like overwhelming. I took my shahada, I cried when I took my shahada. That's how strong it was.
I feel it.
That's how, and I was practicing for years. Because you know what? Let me tell you, that was the second time I've been to that mosque. I went there the first time I went there was the week before. Literally, every single person that was there stayed for my shahada. I did not know not a single person.
Wow.
They stayed. Almost every single person reached in their pocket and gave me whatever they had. And they gave me their number and said, brother, if you have any questions, please let me know. If you need to learn, if you need help with prayers, memorizing prayers, this, that. Almost they waited in line to greet me and to hug me and to give me, I've never, like, that was like,
wow, man.
Like, how do you explain it? People I've never met before in my life, of every color, of every nationality, from every country. Like, it was, I'm never, rich, poor, some of them cabbies, some of them I know got some money, some of them, it was just amazing to me.
Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful.
It was amazing to me. That was like the ultimate confirmation for me when I took my shahada. If I had any doubt, that wiped it away right there.
And tell everyone who is listening who doesn't know, what is shahada?
It's I guess it's equivalent to like a baptism. In any other, it's like your proclamation to God and that there's one God and his name is Allah.
And his prophet is who? Muhammad.
That's right. You know, so it's like, I guess in layman's terms, it's a baptism, you know, and you accepting that religion, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And recognizing him as the one and the only.
Right.
So on that note, I want you to pray with me.
Okay.
And for anyone who is watching right now, we always end with Al-Fatiha, right? Because it is actually the beginning. It's the very first surah. And a surah is like a compilation of verses in the Quran, which is our holy book. And I always love Al-Fatiha because it's a dua. It is a saying, asking to God to make sure he guides you in this dunya, this worldly world filled with the temporary. Can you make sure that I'm doing the right thing with the right people? And when I'm walking the right way. So if you could please make dua with me. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Amen. And I hope you made dua with us because I really want to make sure that whatever you're struggling through, whatever distractions you have, you're always able to recenter yourself and just keep striving. Like I always say, it's not how perfect you are. The best Muslim is the striving Muslim. Kash, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for sharing space with us.
Nah, thank you for having me. This was dope. I love it.
I appreciate it.
I love it.
Okay, make sure you join us next time, okay? Assalamu alaikum.